I mean, there's a review on the back by The Sun newspaper, credible source they are. Absolutely, positively brilliant. How about absolutely, positively arse? Hey everyone, I'm Jim and welcome back to My Movie Obsession, a place for film obsessives. If you're like me and you're still obsessed with retro movies from the 80s and 90s, you're probably in the right place. And if you're also obsessed with superhero movies and love to talk about them a bit too much, you'll probably be right at home as well. Retro movies and superhero movies, it's what I do, y'all. Well, the time has come, no turning back now. It's time for an in-depth look at Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Wish me luck guys, I'm going in. Batman v Superman was a concept that had been floating around for years, and you can't blame people for wanting to make it. It's probably on paper the greatest superhero movie ever. Forget the Avengers, forget Justice League, it's all about Batman v Superman. Until the actual film came out and it was a load of bollocks, but hey. Names like Christian Bale and Josh Hartnett were floating around in casting Batman v Superman back in the mid 2000s. With a script entitled Batman v Superman Asylum floating around, which was completely insane but definitely something I'd like to watch out of morbid curiosity, kind of like the Nicolas Cage and Tim Burton Superman Returns. Back in 2001, another mental idea was pitched by Andrew Kevin Walker, with Wolfgang Peterson attached to direct, and Akiva Goldsman, the genius behind Batman and Robin, to come up with a script. Goldsman's script had Bruce Wayne's fiancée slain by the Joker, which sends him on a revenge rampage and brings him into conflict with Superman. The film was cancelled, but in Akiva Goldsman's I Am Legend from 2007, a teaser poster for the film is shown in the opening scene. It was rumoured at the time that George Clooney would be playing Batman, reprising his role from Batman and Robin, and John Travolta, of all people, would be playing Superman. John Travolta as Superman. Now that is awesome.
I don't know what the big deal is. I really don't.
Years after the success of Christopher Nolan's reinvention of Batman, Superman was pulled up from the deep grave Superman Returns had put it in, and the Superman series was revived by Zac Snyder with Man of Steel in 2013. The film received mixed reviews, but in my opinion was a good return for Superman into present day. I'm not in love with the film by any means, but I do think it's a little overhated. In June 2013, Warner Bros. Announced that director Zac Snyder and screenwriter David S. Goyer would return for a Man of Steel sequel, with the studio considering the release for the film in 2015. The following month, Snyder confirmed at the San Diego Comic-Con that the sequel to Man of Steel would feature Superman and Batman meeting for the first time on film. Goyer and Snyder came up with the story. Christopher Nolan was also involved as a executive producer. Several actors were of course considered for the role of Batman, including Josh Brolin and Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who actually ended up playing Thomas Wayne in this movie, as well as Tyler Hoechlin, who went on to play Superman himself in the Supergirl TV series. But shocking the world, Snyder decided to go against expectations, casting Ben Afleck as the Caped Crusader. And cue the haters.
No! Oh, please, God, no!
Affleck had of course received a huge amount of backlash for his performance in the very unpopular 2003 superhero movie Daredevil. I feel sorry for the guy. I respect him for taking on the role of the most famous superhero of them all. If I'm honest, I really didn't mind Daredevil. There are many worse superhero movies. Sadly, I think this one I'm about to talk about actually turned out to be way worse than Daredevil in some ways. However, none of that is Ben Affleck's fault, so I still support this casting choice. Batman v Superman marks the first appearance of Wonder Woman in a live-action theatrical film, which Warner Bros. Had been developing as far back as 1996. Gal Gadot was cast as the famous heroine, and her performance was met with universal acclaim. The Joker and the Riddler were actually supposed to appear in the film, but Snyder ultimately decided to cut them from the final script. That's a shame, because this movie could have used more characters. I'm joking, it already had about 500, Zac, you madman. When discussing the movie, Henry Cavill said that it would address a major issue that fans and critics had had with Man of Steel, involving the huge amount of collateral damage caused in the film's climax during Superman's battle with General Zod. Cavill said that future battle scenes involving Superman would involve him making sure not to harm civilians and to protect them from evil villains. Wow, Zac Snyder's Superman actually realised that harming civilians probably wasn't for the best. Who'd have thunk it? Tom Hanks and Bryan Cranston were considered for the role of Lex Luthor, but ultimately the part ended up going to Jesse Eisenberg. On the casting of Eisnberg, Zac Snyder had this to say: "Having Jesse in the role allows us to explore that interesting dynamic and also to take the character in some new and unexpected directions." Some very unexpected directions, Zac. Very, very unexpected.
The red capes are coming. The red capes are coming.
Timothy Dalton was first considered for the role of Alfred Pennyworth, but the part went to Jeremy Irons instead. Timothy Dalton is one of my favourite Bonds, and I'm a big fan of the guy, but I do think Jeremy Irons turned out to be the best choice for the role of Bruce Wayne's long-suffering butler. Initial filming took place on October 19th, 2013 at East Los Angeles College to shoot an American football game between Gotham City University and their rival Metropolis State University. At the end of the month, construction began on the Kent farm seen in Man of Steel for the film. Principal photography involving the main cast began on May 19th, 2014 in Detroit, Michigan. Additional filming took place in Chicago, Illinois in November 2014. Batman v Superman had to be delayed from its original release date of July 17th, 2015 and moved to May 16th, 2016 in order to give the filmmakers time to fully realise their vision. The release date was moved once again from May 16th to March 25th, 2016, with a Warner Bros. Insider claiming the studio was not scared in regards to the previous opening date being on the same day as Marvel's Captain America Civil War, but that the change was made because March 2016 was just a fantastic time for them to release.
You liar!
The film grossed $166 million in the USA and Canada in its opening weekend, and earned the 8th biggest opening of all time, ahead of The Dark Knight Rises. The film had a worldwide opening of $422 million, which stands as the second biggest for Warner Bros. And the 5th biggest of all time at the time of its release. It also became the 4th film to have a global opening above $400 million. Like other DC films such as Watchmen, Green Lantern and Man of Steel, it opened to record-breaking numbers but then dropped the following weekend, due largely to bad critical reception and mixed word of mouth. The film ultimately ended up with a worldwide box office total of $873,634,919. While the movie's gross declined in America, when taking its international gross into account, the movie was actually a major success and is the 46th biggest movie ever at the box office. Despite this, BVS was expected to crack $1 billion worldwide, so even these mammoth numbers were considered a disappointment. The first time I saw this movie, I quite liked it. I came out of there thinking it was pretty darn good. But it's a movie that has no rewatch value. The more you watch it, this movie's just like a line of dominoes, and just when one piece falls over, the rest just collapses. I mean, I don't despise the film as much as other people who think it's the second coming of a Stalin regime, but, you know, it was a real disappointment. It's still entertaining in areas, but it doesn't live up to the hype. So let's have a look at some of the things that might have spoiled it, and some of the things that are actually okay. Ben Affleck confidently steps into the role of Batman with the greatest Batman costume seen on screen since the Michael Keaton 1989 suit. Affleck's costume is superb. It's the closest to the comics Batman suit we have ever had, and we must applaud that. Affleck also nails the Batman voice and pretty much everything about the character, and as Bruce Wayne I was sold on him from the trailer. That moment in the trailer where he's staring at the Batsuit with that look on his face like, fuck you Batsuit, I knew he was the right man for the job. The problem is, Ben Affleck is fighting against one of the worst superhero movie scripts of all time. To introduce us to a 40-plus-year-old Batman right from the get-go and just throw him into the universe and tell us, yeah, he's had a whole career, he doesn't think things through remotely, he loses his rag easily, Robin's dead, and he just doesn't think things through. He's a bit of an arsehole. Now, like him. Poor Ben Affleck, he puts his all in, but because he's been so ridiculously rushed, it's like we're watching a Batman who was great. Like he had some great films that we're not allowed to see. What were they thinking with that? Ben Affleck was screwed over by this script. No matter what he would have done, he could have never made us root for this Batman. Sad Affleck is real, guys. Batman's approach to Superman, perhaps, possibly, maybe being a threat, is kill the bastard. Don't negotiate, don't go and have a chat, don't grab a coffee, don't care about all the people who think he's not a threat, just go and kill the cunt. This is what makes no sense. We haven't seen what makes Ben Affleck's Batman so unreasonable. If we had done, maybe we'd buy it. But here he just seems like the fucking Punisher. And to all people who say, well, we fought Superman in The Dark Knight Returns, yeah, because the government was controlling Superman, It's not like Batman decided, you know what, Superman might one day use his powers for bad, so I'm going to take him to the woodshed. No, because that's not Batman. Sure, Batman is a hothead, but he's not a fucking idiot. The opening scene to this film is fantastic. It's wonderfully shot and was a genius idea to put us in Bruce Wayne's shoes. This is a good reason for some animosity, and they could have built on it better. But still, at the same time, there's still part of me thinking, really? Is that enough for Batman to want to kill the guy? Clearly Superman was fighting for us. He just wasn't looking when he was smashing shit up. Superman was clearly fighting on behalf of humanity. I feel really sorry for Henry Cavill. I mean, it was probably his dream role and he's one of the most perfect casting choices of recent years. It just seems like he would have got to the set and just been told, right, Henry, you are Superman. Yep, we've done the costume test, that looks great. Yep, you got the voice down, everything's perfect. Final thing, how's your scowl? Sorry, what? We need Superman to scowl. Well, I've got a good smile, wouldn't that be good for Superman? Nah, fuck it, turn that smile upside down. Our Superman wants to die. I knew it would have been better going for James Bond. This is not Superman. I mean, Man of Steel sort of got the wheels in motion for the new vision of the character, but at least Henry Cavill was still smiling and had a few good Superman moments. Here, Superman looks like he's on the verge of suicide. Every second in this movie, Superman is negative, unhappy, pessimistic, angry, rude. I mean, it's like some sort of sick joke. Superman is the opposite of Superman, because in this movie lots of people turn on Superman, and this bothers him, and it makes him lose his faith in humanity. Look, Superman, at some point, some villain is going to try to turn Metropolis against you. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. So suck it up, dig deep, touch your balls, be the Superman we know. But no, he buggers off into the hills having fucking visions, because no one understands. What is wrong with these superheroes these days? They're all 13 years old listening to Simple Plan.
How could this happen to me? I made my mistakes, got nowhere to run. The night goes on as I'm fading away.
I must admit, I do like the idea that the world is intimidated by Superman. All of that stuff is great. The only thing wrong is Superman's reaction to it all. He basically says, you don't like me? Well, screw you guys, I'm going home. The film would have been so much better if he had defeated all the negativity through his positivity. That's what Superman should do. But as I said before, he doesn't even seem to smile once in this whole fucking movie. Having us question Superman was a good idea, but having him react like such an emo kid really wasn't. Some of the imagery of Superman, I must admit, is pretty fantastic in this film, and Snyder definitely had a vision to present Supes like a god among men. But somehow he forgot to actually give Superman some personality traits that justify worship. So unfortunately, it's really hard to empathise with either Batman or Superman in this movie. I mean, it's like trying to choose between Kim Jong-un and Donald Trump. In the end, you're just like, I've had enough, fuck them both off. Superman and Batman do seem to be both acting very immaturely in this film. They make rash decisions, they believe anything they're told, they fight at the drop of a hat, they can't take criticism. I mean, watching them is like watching two teenagers in high school. Everything is he said, she said in this film. You actually feel like when you watch Jeremy Irons that he's a member of the audience who's been allowed to enter the film. His performance is quite literally a long-suffering groan, with now and again an outburst.
But he is not our enemy. If we believe there's even a 1% chance that he is our enemy, we have to take it as an absolute certainty.
No we don't, Bruce. We actually don't. We don't need to do that. Calm yourself down. Let's go and have a cup of tea, and let's talk about it. There's probably better ways to deal with this than impulse murder. Amy Adams puts in a decent performance as Lois Lane, but I feel like she's got way less to do in this one than she did in Man of Steel. In Man of Steel she was a crucial part of the film and she had a journey as a character. She was actually memorable in that movie. In this one she's just running around like a headless chicken really, and just now and again trying to cheer up Clark. Their relationship is well played but quite nonsensical. Lois is the only one Clark seems to care about in the world. Even when he sees a vision of his dead father who gives him his passion back, he only does it by making him think about Lois. The film really does push the point home that if Lois wasn't around, Clark wouldn't really care. And he would also drop anything at any time to rescue her because he puts her above even the safety of the universe. I'm sorry, but this is ridiculous. I know Lois is Superman's weakness, and she was in the comics and the other films, and that's fine, but she should not dictate everything he does and the way he's feeling at all times. Despite it all, however, Henry Cavill is fighting against the tide to actually give us a good performance, and he just about gives a decent one. Even though he's missing Superman's trademark positivity, Cavill nails the badass Superman scenes, and it's great to see him giving Superman some edge. I love his performance in his first confrontation with Batman, and the rooftop scene with Luthor. He's intimidating and cool, and I think that's important for Superman too. Yes, he's missing the core personality of Supes, but the script wasn't his fault, and you have to take your hat off to Cavill for trying to make the performance work, and in some moments he really does. Of course, in others you're just like, show some emotion mate, give us something positive. I mean, watching Superman try to smile in this film, it's like watching this. I suppose it was cool to completely derail our expectations of how Lex Luthor was supposed to be, but this was going way too far. This isn't even Luthor. There's nothing about this performance that is Lex Luthor. This is quite literally a definition of Jesse Eisenberg pissing about. It's an awkward, annoying, strange and frustrating performance. Maybe that was what he was going for, I don't know. Every 5 seconds this guy is making a bizarre speech. It's like this character is written as if we should know what he's talking about or what his goals are or how he got to this point. But just like we know nothing about anyone else in this movie, we know sod all about Lex Luthor. Plus he is overseeing everything in this movie. Yes, this strange circus freak donut knows who Superman is, knows who Batman is, has been playing them off against each other for over a year. At no point did Batman look at the obscene letters he was getting and think to himself, you know what, I'm the greatest detective in the world, I don't think Superman has the time to be writing this shit, he's too busy sulking and shagging Lois. So Lex Luthor, let's investigate this fucker. As I said earlier, in the rooftop scene, I do have to take my hat off to both Henry Cavill and begrudgingly Jesse Eisenberg. I mean, he's still bad in the scene, but he's less bad. He shows some slight potential, and the two actors have a bit of chemistry. I love what Zac Snyder did with this scene. It's the one moment in the film that I feel like was a genuine Superman comic book moment, and it was the only scene in the film other than the opening in Metropolis that I believe stands up to some of the great superhero scenes. So of course, Batman and Superman are trapped and forced to fight each other in the end, and I'm not nitpicking here, but how come Superman can always hear Lois's cries when she's kidnapped, but when it's his mum, he can't hear shit? Also, Superman, why didn't you explain that Lex had your mother before the fight? Just saying again. Why didn't you just go to Batman? Just stop. Just have a look at what we're doing here, you donut. He's got my mum. He's got my mum, Bruce. He's got her.
I'll go for a headshot.
I'm the Terminator, you can't kill me.
I've got your kids. I've got your kids, Dan.
This is a perfect example of how cobbled together this script is. They had to have Batman and Superman fight, so we sacrifice all logic and story to do so, and because we have so much weird plot contrivance we need to honour, the fight can only be really short anyway. They wrote themselves into a corner and got to the point where Batman and Superman's fight itself becomes an afterthought. The fight itself is just lame, it's rushed, it's not memorable. Batman hitting Superman with a bloody sink is not what I envisioned when I thought Batman v Superman. A very short, badly shot fight is not what I expected. It's quite insulting that certain moments of this film are shot fantastically, but the fight is one of the most ugly scenes in the movie. Let this sink in. In a movie called Batman v Superman, the fight is the worst bit. I used to be someone who defended Batman stopping because Superman yells Martha. I thought to myself, well, to be honest, the only way to get through to Batman when he's in a rage would probably be to mention his parents. But as time's gone on, nah, I'm not having it. Batman has spent over a year preparing to kill Superman. He's convinced himself Superman is evil despite having no reason to think he is, and to get to the point where you're gonna bloody kill someone, you're gonna become the Zodiac. Hearing him shout your mum's name would not stop you. His mum's got the same name as mine, so that suddenly eliminates all the reasons I wanted to kill him. His mum has the same name as mine, so I no longer think he's what I thought he was. I mean, in the moments before this, Batman has been dragging Superman around, mocking his family. He says to him, I bet your mum and dad told you were special. You're literally talking about his mum and dad as you're about to kill him. You're a cold bastard. Why would finding out the name of the parents you were mocking stop you? Or maybe he stopped because he realised Superman was in distress because his mum's been kidnapped. Well, yeah, that could be it. But why does he make such a big deal about Martha? If that's the case, they should have just made Superman say, my mum's been kidnapped, which he should have said all along. But why the big thing about Martha? The short answer to the whole Martha debacle is, they fucked up.
Oh, shit.
Gal Gadot is great as Wonder Woman. She has this real presence to her and is one of the best casting choices in a long time. She's not muscly or imposing like the Wonder Woman of the comics, but as soon as you see her in action, you believe her. She just looks like she has this hunger and passion behind her eyes, so her physique really isn't needed. She doesn't need to be in this movie though, and her being in it is a pro and a con. Her performance is great and her scenes are epic, but she's just adding more clutter to the mess. She's cool as hell, and it's frustrating because DC just did not plan this. Batman v Superman is a movie that could have worked if there was a DCEU to begin with. You don't start a DCEU by inserting all the superheroes into the first movie. And you want to know why it probably pissed people off even more? It's because that's a blatant, clear as day attempt to milk as much money as possible out of the consumer. How can you care about the DC characters if your idea of building a universe around them is to introduce them all right away and ask us to just accept it? If anyone remotely involved in the making of Batman v Superman cared about the quality of the film, as opposed to the commodity of the film, they would have spoke up and said, guys, we need to slow down. We have great actors, we have great scenes, we have a great director, we have some great moments, but we don't have our universe yet. Let's not act like we do, because no one would accept it. That's how easy it was to fix the DC universe, and guess what? In the long run, you'd have made even more money that way, because you'd have made a Batman movie, and then Man of Steel 2, then Wonder Woman, then this movie. You would have made even more money in the long run, but because you rushed it, shows me everything I need to know about the intentions of Warner Brothers. You know you're in trouble when Wonder Woman discovers the rest of the Justice League essentially on YouTube. I mean, it's probably quite a good idea actually. They should just set up YouTube channels for Aquaman, Cyborg and the Flash. Just have videos uploaded on random YouTube channels for these heroes, and then we could get to know them. Just might as well do it on YouTube, because if you're not willing to make the films, just fucking do it on YouTube then.
Oh god.
One thing I do certainly enjoy in Batman v Superman is Zac Snyder's attempt to really differentiate this world from anything we had ever seen. Sure, it has elements of the Christopher Nolan Batman look, but at the same time I think many would agree with me that Snyder's world in Batman v Superman is definitely a unique and interesting looking place. Although the movie shouldn't be as dark as it is, I can't help but admire the colour palette, the visual style, the operatic delivery of some of the scenes. I mean, despite its many flaws, I will always maintain the direction in Batman v Superman is pretty fantastic. It's probably the best part of the movie. Snyder was very ambitious with the visuals, and it's a shame his ambition didn't translate to the script. Snyder has a great ability to make individual scenes and moments stick in your mind for a long time after you've seen the film. All I will say is, despite the fact I like the visuals and direction, it could have been a little lighter in certain moments. I mean, come on, Zac. Why did everything about this film have to be so glum? That's one of the things people pick on. This film is more depressing than The Dark Knight Rises, and that's saying something. I enjoy the ending battle to an extent. Some of the action is spectacular, and it's definitely better shot than the Batman and Superman fight. I definitely got a major kick out of seeing Batman, Superman and Wonder Woman standing side by side to kick some ass. Wonder Woman is amazing in this scene, and Superman is finally noble for the first time in the film, sacrificing himself for the good of the world. Doomsday, however, looks like complete crap and is a real insult to the comics character. He looks like a CGI mess and is pretty much just a big monster for the protagonist to fight. He could have been any monster. Another thing that holds back this ending fight scene is you feel drained by the time it comes around. You've already been watching the film for over 2 hours and you've seen Batman and Superman fight, and then we suddenly see a gigantic long fight scene. It's just a bit too much. Now, although Superman's death scene is pretty epic and Henry Cavill delivers in making it sympathetic, I actually can't believe they had the nerve to do this. Again, if they had this exact scene in a Batman v Superman movie in a properly built DC universe, it would have been incredible, and that's what's so frustrating. You know what, when the characters disappear at the end of Infinity War, even though I know for a fact they'll be back, it hit me hard because we had spent time with these characters for years. A sense of care and attachment had been built up for these characters. That's how movies work. It really does seem like Zac Snyder wanted to skip the work and just get to the epic stuff. He has no patience, so why should the audience buy into his universe if not even he has? I do think Ben Afleck is very convincing at the end of the movie where he says he failed Superman in life, he won't fail him in death. Gal Gadot also reacts really well, and this is a great moment between the two actors who had great moments of genuine emotion together in the film. Just wish I cared. Superman is dead. I should care. It just turns out to be a pretty frustrating culmination to a pretty frustrating film. So of course, upon release, Batman v Superman received genuinely unfavourable reviews from film critics. The movie currently sits with a 27% score on Rotten Tomatoes. Here's some words from some of the critics' reviews. Lindy West in The Guardian described it as 153 minutes of a grown man whacking two dolls together. Writing in The Telegraph, Robbie Collin called the film humorless and the most incoherent blockbuster in years. Sonny Bunch of The Washington Post said that as the film progresses, Lex Luthor generates into a gibbering madman, some strange mix of the Riddler and the Joker, with a little bit of Mark Zuckerberg added for flair. Richard Roper was in fact one of the few critics who actually liked the movie, calling it not perfect, but a very solid film. An extended cut of the movie, dubbed the Ultimate Edition, was released on home media platforms alongside the theatrical cut. This version received an R rating for more violence than the PG-13 theatrical cut, and it is longer by 31 minutes. With the release of the Ultimate Edition, which was the director's original vision of the film before additional editing, Ben Kendrick of Screen Rants stated that while it was more intelligible, if you already didn't like Batman v Superman for reasons such as tone, approach and characterisation, the Ultimate Edition will just be a longer version of that film, and it will remain divisive. So it's basically the same situation as the Halloween 6 theatrical cut and the Halloween 6 producer's cut. Both are psychotic.
It is a three-syllable word for any thought too big for little minds.
Batman v Superman is an unholy mess, there's no way around it. But that doesn't mean there's nothing of merit to the film. Despite it being incoherent, annoying and nonsensical, I don't dislike watching it. It has some fun action scenes, decent performances, epic moments and awesome direction. So for me, I can tolerate the film despite it being a huge missed opportunity. So stay tuned guys, in the next episode in this series I'm going to be looking at Suicide Squad, the next entry in the DC movie universe. Once again a movie treated like it was the second coming of Stalin or a Hitler propaganda film. So this will probably be in December when my channel is just going to be dedicated to Christmas content. So if you love Christmas retro movies and you're in the mood for Christmas as I am, I can't wait. December, going to be posting all sorts of Christmas movie reviews. If you're a grump and you just say humbug, wait till Suicide Squad's uploaded. It'll be some point in December. So let me know what you think about Batman v Superman in the comments below. Do you agree that it's a massive disappointment, or were you one of the fans who actually thinks that this movie was quite satisfying? Let me know. Get down there, get in those comments, get in there, invade them, invade my space. So if you're new here, my channel focuses primarily on retro movies from the 80s and 90s, as well as superhero movies. So if you're like me and you're a film obsessive who lives to talk about film, please consider subscribing and click that notification bell so you don't miss anything. Oh, and please check out the comment that I posted underneath this video, which talks about the impending threat of Article 13, which, if it gets passed, is pretty much going to destroy YouTube for everyone in Europe. YouTube channels and YouTube viewers in Europe could be going bye-bye. Please show your support and join the fight against this impending threat for millions of content creators. So thanks for watching everyone, I'm Jim and I'm obsessed with movies, and I will see you in the next video. It's Christmas, it's nearly Christmas, have I said it enough? Stay tuned for lots of Christmas content. See you next time.